Until right at 9.
Good morning. Welcome to this special call meeting of the Tarrant Appraisal District. To get us started, I've asked Mike Alfred to lead us in an invocation.
What did he say?
You're fine. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity to meet together in a way that promotes transparency, and please give us wisdom and help us to be thoughtful and deliberate in any actions we take. Please guide us through that decision-making process so that we keep your spirit and your wishes in our heart. In Jesus' name we pray.
Lead to the pledges. The United States pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
to the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to one state, under God, one and indivisible.
The flags are placed wrong.
Yep. Roll call. Sorry.
Rick Barnes.
Here.
Callie Rigney.
Here.
Mike Alfred.
Here.
Alan Blaylock. Here. Eric Morris. Here. Gloria Pena.
Here.
Fred Campos.
Here.
Wendy Burgess. And Matt Bryant is not here.
We have a quorum. Mike Bryant's absent, out of town. First thing on the agenda is public comment. I have no sheet.
It's up on the board, right screen.
Oh, never mind. I
We
forgot.
changed our system.
Oh, wow.
I can make it bigger.
What?
Yeah, blow that up pretty big. First person to speak, George Dotson.
Good morning, board members. The 2024 error of giving 198 extra votes to the community college, and those votes were taken away from other entities, is another black eye on TAD. I'm not blaming Don Bobbitt for the error, but the results are exactly what we saw repeated with the past chief appraiser. Apparently someone at TAD was able to make the error, no one checked on it, although I've been told the community college questioned the number and was told by TAD that the number was correct. My other major concern is why do none of the applicants require candidate's signature date and notary date? Seems very unusual to me. Can't think of another situation where I've notarized something that there was no date on it. We were able to see that because Saeda's signature was not blacked out. My other question is, why are the signatures necessarily blacked out on the applications? If you look on the website, you'll see that the others are blacked out. Also, Wendy's application her signature block is smaller. I don't know why. Just seems unusual. Anyway, if you checked on the current TAD website, you will not see any information about the prior year's taxing entities' votes. If those were shown, anyone would have been able to catch this error before it took place. Also, it's limited of what's on the website. Anyway, the website doesn't show taxing entities' election policies and procedures that the board has used or approved. Also recommend that the ballot allocation be brought to the board before they're sent out to the taxing entities, so the board it's an official action. Also, are there even written taxing entity policies and procedures document, and has that been reviewed and approved by the board? I doubt it. Does the procedure document everything, who's responsible for each step, and everything that should be done to do it appropriately? I thank Chairman Barnes for taking action on this when he learned of the major error. I'm sure Joe Don will be sure to report any future errors directly to the board as soon as they happen. It's very unfortunate the TAD procedures are so loose. I thank this board and the last one for all their efforts to solidify procedures and stop the errors that have happened here in the past. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Next person to speak, Daniel Bennett.
Daniel Bennett, White Settlement. This file represents even a lawsuit for all the mishaps on this election dating back from 2015. This isn't the first rodeo for this group. That error should have been caught. It was questioned by Dr. Anglin, by the general counsel. I just got a text from Dr. Anglin. She can't be here. She needs to be in your executive session. Nobody gets a pass here. Mr. Bobbitt, you don't get a pass. Tax code specific. It is your duty. But I want to talk not about that. I'll let you all sort through all that. I sued 11 taxing entities and had to get a lecture from the city of Arlington back in the day. Ultimately, I was right, but I didn't win. You can still be right and still lose. What I want to talk about conflicts of interest. I want to talk about the 44th annual TAAD. Some people went to that. I didn't think we were even members of it. Some took classes. February 23rd, 2025, TAAD Annual Conference 44th, Ethics, Board Training. No statutory code of ethics specifically for Central Appraisal District boards. Mere appearance of impropriety impacts effectiveness of local public officials. We have a chance in the state of Texas to set a code of ethics and standards today, which we haven't had under Mr. Law. I handed you my documentation out. It says there are no policy and procedures. And Mr. Bobbitt has had his hands full with all the crap he's had to put up with. And we've not, and it's on you, Mr. Campos. You're Mr. Rubric. You're Mr. HEB. You said when you got on this board, you were going to fix that. Well, guess what? Fell through the cracks. We're being punished today again. When's it going to end? It ends with changing the staff. Now I want to talk about the conflicts of interest. Your wife is a teacher. Mr. Kryle's wife works for a Birdville ISD. Is that not a conflict of interest? You want to fully fund these schools, what, so your spouses can be fully funded? Mr. Tepper, under 6.03, F says common law. These are common law marriages. They have 50% ownership in those contracts. They should be disqualified from the board. Disqualified to run. My opinion, I'm not a lawyer. You need to rule on that. Ms. Burgess, where do I start? Those college votes should be disavowed. You need to recalculate who won and get the right person on the board. That was bastardized. You've put Tarrant County through this for 12 years. It is time to fix it. Thank you.
Thank you. Syed?
Good evening, board. I'm Sayada Syed. I'm a Colleyville resident. We will not meet today if I do not speak up and talk with Chairman Barnes. His office contacted me because I talk at TCC, and at the same night I talk at Arlington ISD about this issue. Because of the wrong calculation done by Tarrant Appraisal District, Commissioner's Court lost 22 votes. School districts combined, all 21, lost 118 votes. Forward City Council alone lost 29 votes. City of Arlington lost 11 votes. Well, my very small city, Colleyville, lost 2 votes in the system. You know, these two votes are very crucial for small entities. But here, people care about big entities, not worried about what's going on in the small entities. When this time, the calculation said 5 cities have 0 votes because of the two election for 2 seats. Let's see what happens. But how can we trust the system, the numbers given to the entities? Because they are going to vote tonight. Some of the entities are voting tonight. Let's see what would be the result. But last year, whatever happened at TCC, Ms. Pena got 75 votes. Mr. Blaylock got 141 votes. So does Ms. Burgess got 289 votes. This is my suggestion. Please do not consider all 505 votes from TCC and then announce the result, what happened there. Because mistake has already been done, but we can fix it whatever we can. Some people knew it before, but they kept quiet. That's the problem. That's the culture at TAD. I'm not pointing out any of the employee. Okay, they all are human, they make mistake. But there should be some check and balances on people. Those numbers that they use for calculation, the appraisal district use for calculation, should come from tax assessor collector's office, not from any of the citizen that they said, oh, this is the assumption. But what happened at that time? People get benefited out of the mistake done by, because of the copy pasting of the values. Let's see what happened at this time. And I request Chairman Barnes that please make sure at the end of this meeting that those numbers for this year is correct and accurate. There is no policy and procedure at TAD, so does the entities. Entities are going to vote tonight and onward. Let's see what happens. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Chandler Crouch. Julie, is that, when that goes off, that's the time? Okay, all right.
Why are you gonna ask that now? I was gonna ask, do I have 3 minutes? Okay, I'm gonna start my timer right now. Chandler Crouch, Fort Worth. Appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. I've had a while to chew on this and to try and put it in context and understand what's happened. I think that it's pretty obvious that the actual error itself was effectively a typo. And it's just unfortunate that it was a typo on something so consequential. It's a very important thing. If you look at kind of an analogy, I was thinking about, I haven't had a drop to drink of alcohol in over 10 years. I don't know how long. It's because I wasn't making good decisions when I drank. And I decided I needed to stop. And I had a friend that didn't make the same decision. He kept drinking, and the friend of mine ended up killing somebody in a car accident, and he served time in prison, and he's got a lifelong punishment of having this felony on his record. We made a lot of the same mistakes. It's just that the consequences for one were devastating, and I didn't have any consequences. And so luck plays a significant factor in how things transpire. I just want to say this. The reason we have evidence that something wrong has happened is because this man's been honest. I also want to say the reason this is on the table is because this man, Rick Barnes, saw the issue, picked up the phone, and went straight towards the issue to try and figure out what's going on. This dynamic, yes, it's a black eye. Yes, it's nasty. It's just another negative headline. But this is way different than the other negative headlines we've seen in the past. In the past, the board did everything they could, and the chairman did everything they could to hide issues, avoid the truth. They did not want to hear the truth. They didn't want to face it. They want to shove it under the rug. And when the chief appraiser was called to account, he would lie about it, hide the facts, connive, and we have a different scenario today. The evidence that we have that you can hold him accountable is purely because he's been honest about it. Yes, he made a mistake by not telling you guys. That shouldn't, it is what it is. Y'all are going to have to deal with that. I'm just saying, the scenario is different. Thank you for walking forward into this. Thank you for being honest. I just believe that, me and all the people on this side of the microphone, we can say wild things. We can, have political agendas and all that. You guys have to make decisions with level heads, thinking about the future of the district, making sure everything is heading in the right direction. My timer will not come up at the same time as my note. How much I got left?
20 seconds.
All right. Just want to go over the track record of him. He walked into the most toxic appraisal district, went from small town to big town, had a public election, the most active board. We had the reappraisal plan, which is the most politicized policy issue affecting appraisal districts, on. And now he's redoing the entire operating system, and there have been some mistakes made. I just want to look at it as a whole. And you've got a lot to consider. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I do not show, no, I'm sorry, Eric Crowell.
Board, good morning. Life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. You guys should recognize that as Macbeth, Shakespeare. To put this, to credit Julianne Hanson, the synopsis of that: life is a tale. It is also fleeting, and individuals spend their brief hour of life full of sound and fury. For what? Against whom? In the end, none of the fury that consumes so much of life amounts to anything. And I say this not because this meeting is unimportant, I think it is, but I do think that the final results that the air concluded wouldn't have changed anything. I went through the math, and if you take the top 8 vote getters outside of TCC, so the top 7, you'd have had 74 votes left. You can run through the numbers and figure out how it would have all played out most likely. And so that's all I would say when you consider if you take any action against Mr. Bobbitt. The other thing I'd like to say is I made some public comments at TCC back on, I think it was June 8th, letting TCC know that there was a reduction in value, and at the time I didn't know why. But I do believe that this issue was actually noticed back in September of 2024. There were some comments at a TCC workshop session, and so it may have been lingering out there for a while. And last thing I'm going to say is my wife does work for Birdville. I believe the correct the statute that applies says if she appraises property, then I am disqualified. My wife does not appraise property, so I'd just like to put that on the record. She is an administrative assistant. So thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you. I show no more public comments during the public comments section. The next issue on the agenda is action item number 3A, discussion and possible action of the process for entity appointments to the Appraisal District Board of Directors. This is an interesting meeting because we have one agenda item and we have public speakers that want to speak on the agenda item also, who also just spoke during persons to be heard and are during public comments. And so I'm going to call them back out and see if they want to come back up. George. Okay, Daniel Bennett. Yeah, Daniel.
I want to share with you, Daniel Bennett, White Settlement. Richard Petrie was a vendor who applied and Mackenzie Eason won the contract back in October. Richard Petrie, he's 76 years old. He runs 3 appraisal districts. He put his bid in for $35,000. He was kicked to the curb. Some people didn't like him. But this is what he told me when it comes to the vote, the way he does it, okay? First off, he goes, Mr. Bennett, I get a supplemental report, which is snapshot in time, from my software. There we go. When have we had working software? That's been the issue the whole time. And I've been standing up here saying those supplemental reports are in error. And there's people in this room. So when you go to recalculate this crap, ask yourself, where are you getting those numbers? Your numbers were $10 million off on the college, Mr. Barnes. Why? 10 million, that's 2 votes for this election. None of these numbers can be trusted. Then Mr. Petrie said, Mr. Bennett, I take that supplemental report, I walk over to my Excel spreadsheet, and I type it in by hand. Then he has someone come behind him and check his work. They print it off, and then he picks it. You know Mr. Petrie. He likes you, by the way. He thinks you're honest, and he's flabbergasted you didn't tell the board. He's upset. But he still likes you, and Joe Don, I still like you. Doesn't change things. You still be likable and make an error. We just got to own our crap. This has been going on for 12 years. He then takes that report, and he walks over to another system where he enters that data, prints your notification, your vote total, your allocation, and then sends it off to the taxing entities. That's how he does it. And he does it by hand. He owns it. He doesn't allocate it to anyone else. He doesn't delegate it. He does it himself. I could call Mr. Petrie right now, and he would tell this board that. And that man was unfairly treated down in Johnson County. Thank you.
Thank you. Syed, you want to, yes.
All I would like to say is, please recalculate the votes for the last year's election and just make sure this year's election, the values are correct. It should come from your office, Mr. Barnes, as a tax assessor collector. And based on that, entities can trust and can vote. And all those who benefited from TCC's mistake or appraisal district's mistake, they should keep an eye on that, make a statement, something. It's been 2 weeks. No one said from this board anything about TCC's vote. Not a single statement. But I do appreciate Mr. Bobbitt. He is honest. When I ask him a simple question, why all of a sudden TCC had that much votes and this year it's dropped again, he gave me the right answer. The problem is it was not bring to the board at the right time. And when no one stepped up, I stepped up and bring it to the board and to the entities. We all are human, we make mistakes, but some mistakes, if our kid and we as a parent say, hey, if you make any mistake, come to us, tell us, and we'll fix it. The same thing applies to here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Chandler Crouch.
I don't even know I signed up twice. This is such a treat. I just wanted to say this. I've had a lot of conversations, and then I'll have a conversation with somebody, and then because I am general public, I didn't have to wait until the meeting was posted. Y'all have rules that you have to abide by. You couldn't get the same information I could get because I can just pick up the phone and ask somebody. And at the end of the day, I've heard so many rumors and fear-based kind of accusations or theories about what happened, and I know you would do this anyway, but I just want to say that facts and evidence are what has to win the day here, and that's it. I appreciate the second opportunity
Thank
to talk
you.
with you. Have a great day.
Mr. Crowell, are you good, or are you coming back? Okay. That concludes public comment on the action item. The next step with the action item is Mr. Bobbitt is going to present how the process works in the first place.
The way the current process works, we essentially take the September levy out of Aumentum. So normally I would use July, but with minerals and late things being added to the roll, the September levy is usually a little more correct, and that's what gets sent out on tax bills in October. And so all the ARB kind of process is kind of settled down at that point, so it gives us a better idea of what is actual levy for the entities. So we take that number, their taxable value, the net taxable value, we multiply by their tax rate that gets applied or approved. And so that number then gets used for our next year's budget and for the voting allocation. And in doing so, like normally we put this in the budget and we then copy and paste into the allocation spreadsheet. And when that happened, like we have Tarrant County Hospital District, which is on our budget right below Tarrant County. And so they had $509,000 total levy. When we grabbed it and copied and pasted all the entities into the vote, we copied and pasted Tarrant County Hospital District into Tarrant County College. The hospital district doesn't get to vote in the allocation. I'm not sure why I didn't set the laws, but they're not entitled to vote, but they do participate in our budget. And so the difference in entities, we copy and paste, and we didn't drop down and bypass the hospital district. We stuck their levy into the spreadsheet for the prior year. When this did get brought to my attention by Mr. Cryle, I went through, revalidated the current year, I revalidated the prior year and found the issue and where it happened. The reason it got, to me, the reason that it was found is we did have the current year allocation on our website. We had the prior year allocation on the website, and they were both still there. And they're actually still there now. If you go on our website, you see the board allocation at the very bottom of the page has the historical stuff. There's a smaller section for it, but it is still there, and it's been there since June or before. So we've tried to stay transparent and keep all of this stuff out there. And I do admit that I should have caught it. I was involved in other things. A lot of these processes have kind of already been built, and so I didn't check that as closely as I should have. To me, there were more important things that I needed to deal with at the time. Granted, looking back, this is a very important issue. As far as using the tax office levy, we can't use their levy specifically because they have a different set of entities than we do. They collect for different entities. We are bound by the appraisal district is bound by the county line. Tarrant County Tax Office is not. And so we deal with multiple tax assessors, and so we would have to take all their different numbers, add them up, and still split them on the county line somehow. And so it's not really feasible to use the numbers from the tax office. And so that's why they won't align typically ever, except on some entities that are fully within the county. But we have corrected the process going forward. So on the next entity allocation, it'll be based on the levy, but that'll still be on a whole nother spreadsheet, so we won't have to copy and paste, but the numbers will kind of flow across automatically. The new system we'll have, we'll actually be able to generate a total levy report. And so for this instance, we can generate a report that will never change, and it will calculate the numbers for us. And we can just build that into the system where it's just automatically there, and we can move forward without having to copy and paste from one system to the next. And so that should make the system and the whole process a little cleaner, less human intervention involved. I do like Mr. Dodson's approach on bringing it to the board before we publish it. That way y'all can see kind of what we calculated. That way there's a second set of eyes before we publish it and make it the official numbers. So we'll probably adopt that. I think that's a very good idea. But again, this was my mistake. We should have caught it. I should have brought it to the board. I failed to do so at the time. I didn't see a way in the tax code to correct the issue. There's a process for recall, which didn't seem to apply. But otherwise, to me, the way I read the tax code, I'm in charge of calculating the allocation, and then we're stuck with it. I didn't see a way to correct it. And so at the time, when I calculated the difference between what it should have been and what we published, I didn't see a change in outcome. And so to me, it didn't look like an issue. I couldn't have changed it if I wanted to, and so I moved on to the next thing. And so I realize now, in hindsight, that that was a mistake, and I should have brought it to the board. And so I really apologize for that. And I realize that it impacts the public trust and entities' trust in TAD. And that was one of the things I was hired to do when I was brought in here. It was to fix the Canvas system and restore public trust. And so I have failed in one of those aspects, and I deeply apologize for that error.
Thank you. Questions from board?
When did you discover the error?
June 26th.
Is that when Eric Kreil
Yes, ma'am.
told you about it? Okay. So did Tarrant County College ever contact you or any staff to make sure that their votes were correct before they cast their votes?
Not before they cast their vote, no, ma'am. The only email I received that looked like it was related to voting allocation was September 18th, I believe, this year.
So nobody questioned when they got 200, almost 200 extra votes?
Not that
Why are we getting a higher number this year?
No, ma'am. I went back and had IT staff pull all emails that had to do with voting, vote, or allocation from entity to entity specifically, and then a separate one just from the public in general. And we found there were only 3 or 4 emails, and the first one was from Mr. Kreil.
So no one questioned at the Tarrant County College meeting, why do we have more votes than we previously?
Not that I'm aware of, not that we found through PI search.
Okay. So you met with Mr. Kreil in June, is that what you're saying?
He sent an email to the office on June 26th.
So an issue I have is that you're having discussions with others and you're leaving us in the dark. And we're the ones with our necks out there, and we're trying to make this a transparent process. I'm hearing that you're telling certain people different timelines, and so that's where I'm trying to figure out what's accurate. So you didn't know prior to June
No, ma'am.
of this year. Is it this year?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so no one questioned anything prior to this?
Not that I'm aware of.
Prior to June, okay.
Any other questions about this part of the process? My question is, I have a few, but, so we have the 2025 election numbers. And we had the board, most of us weren't on the board at the time, had the 2023 election numbers. Yeah. The 2023 election numbers we've determined were incorrect. How do we know that the 2025 elections are true?
I've gone back and revalidated them based on the levy.
So who validated them in 2023?
Yeah, it would have been the 20.
Wasn't that year?
It was for the 24. Yeah, scratch that, yeah. Well, it was in 2023 when it was done.
No, it was done in 24 because I wasn't hired until 24.
So they weren't done until you got here?
Yes,
It's not even 2026 yet. We're talking about 2026 election right now. So I'm looking at the year-to-date. They would have been done in 2023, correct? And brought to this and submitted to
It would have been the 23 levy used for the 24 election.
Yeah, so who did those numbers then to determine what the votes were for the 2024 election?
It was my job to verify them, and I did not validate them correctly.
I understand that. Who did them?
I'm not sure exactly which of the staff. We have a process.
Okay, that's a fair enough answer. I think man, my press release that I put out about this stands on itself in that my biggest concern here is that we have yet another situation where the TAD is not forthcoming with the public. We have another situation where we have an integrity issue and a dramatic lack of transparency. And my question today is, do we have a transparency problem today? And if not, how do we know that? Because I bet you the board would have been told, no, we don't, in 2023 also.
I mean, at this point, all I can tell you is that I've revalidated the spreadsheet. I repulled the 2023 totals and the 24 totals from September and validated them against the budget and allocation, and they are correct.
Okay. Was anybody else, this isn't a general question for anybody else, including all of us. Anybody else made aware of this prior to June that you know of at all?
No, Mr. Cryle reached out to me, Ms. Syed came into the office, and I spoke to her, and then it's like September 18th, I believe, and I had an email from TCC.
Okay. We'll talk about that further in executive session because I got questions specific to board members who I know knew stuff. Okay.
I just
Mr.
want
Barnes.
to know, this shows the incorrect numbers that's in the packet. Still, it shows 505 for Tarrant County College. Where's the documentation of what should have been? Because the issue I have with the copy and paste is if there's only 5,000 votes, and that's 100% of the votes, if you give someone 198 extra votes, you're taking from other entities' votes.
Yes, ma'am.
So how is the math adding up? Either we have too many votes, we have 5,001 or 5,198, or we changed the math on everybody else's votes too.
It's a total of 5,000, so the levy is, each entity's levy is a percent of the total levy. And so.
Right, I understand that, but if you give someone more pieces of the pie, you've taken from somewhere else.
Yes, ma'am. And so the correct allocation, the other entities would have a larger slice of pie and TCC would have a smaller. And so there still would have been 5,000 total votes.
So if the bigger entities vote first and they have more, it just, the copy and paste thing doesn't make sense to me because I'm not even seeing the correct numbers on here. It's still showing the incorrect numbers. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to note that before I forget.
Let me say to that, I think the question that relates to that is, to me, this isn't about any one entity. It's not about Tarrant County
Right.
College, and it's not about who got votes and who didn't and whether what affected the election. It's the fact that the numbers were wrong across the board. If Tarrant County College got too many votes, that means a lot of other entities didn't get enough votes.
Correct.
It's like the whole process was screwed up and down.
Yes, sir.
So whenever I'm told by people on the phone, don't worry about it, entities are okay with this, the only person that affected was Tarrant County College, that's flat out not true. There was multiple entities affected by this. I don't know how many were affected by this. I don't know if it would have affected the election. It's impossible to know.
I disagree with that statement, but we need to.
That's okay.
Well, the larger entities vote first, and so a lot of people change how they vote based on where the larger entities put their votes.
For the public to understand, why do the larger entities vote first?
It's under K1.
All right. Let me,
No,
was the
I
answer to
got a
that?
question
Hang on,
now.
what was the
because
answer?
it,
Why do the
because
larger
they
entities
can
vote first?
fix the election.
You just said that out loud.
They can determine the last three candidates of the election if they don't vote first.
Your first statement was the absolute correct statement. They can fix the election. I will tell you that in my review of this entire process, this is probably the greatest racket in the history of Texas when it comes to elections across the entire state.
I would agree with you in this.
Good. I'm glad we're at least there. All right, any other questions? What were you?
I have a lot to say on this matter, but I really need to invoke conversations with Mr. Tepper. And because we're dealing with personnel matters, need to invoke section 074 because it deals with personnel. And I think that is the right thing to do. As a person of complete transparency, I have no problem reiterating it. But I have a stack of paper here that we probably need to discuss in executive session.
I agree with that. We're going to get to executive session in a minute. I'm not in favor of us hiding behind closed doors to
Agreed.
talk about something that needs to be transparent to the public. This organization is notorious for that. And I don't agree with running behind the closed door whenever it feels uncomfortable to talk in front of the public about the issue.
Agreed.
So
And
is there any
right
other
now-
questions, not personnel questions, well, those don't need to happen out here, but any other questions related to the topic and the issue on hand? Were you about to say something?
No, it's something I'd like to say in closed session as well, but if you would like me to say it out here, I can.
Oh, I don't care. Well, I don't want you to say anything about personnel out here.
Well, it's not the staff, it's about this board.
Okay,
It's still closed session.
I think so too.
okay. Ms. Burgess?
You mentioned, or you asked the question of why the larger entities have to vote when they do, and I would ask Mr. Tepper that I believe that there is a legislative section that speaks to that. And so, Mr. Tepper, could you remind the board what that legislative section tells us, why the larger entities vote when they do?
Now, the basic rule is most entities have to have their ballots cast before December 15th of the year. But the largest entities and larger counties, like Tarrant County, have to vote at the first or the second meeting after they get the ballot delivered to them from the chief appraiser. And that was a legislative change that was made, I guess, maybe 2 or 4 years ago. And the purpose for it was because, as happened here in Tarrant County in the last election, a lot of entities will wait until the 13th or the 14th of December to cast their votes so that they can see how the other votes were done. And if you've got the largest entities that are doing that, the counties and the big school districts and the colleges and whoever else might have a large levy, those people could then completely set, those entities could completely set the board by casting their votes in a specific way and waiting to do so until December 13th or 14th when they knew how everybody else had voted. And by doing it the other way, the larger entities have to vote first, and then the smaller entities that have not nearly the number of votes, they can kind of wait until the end, and it gives them a little bit more voting power as to who can ultimately sit on the board.
Wendy, you good? Was that your?
That was legal clarification.
Yeah,
for your-
it was very good. And I knew some of that, but here's another thing that I do want to say this on the record. It amazes me that this is the same process that was in place before the public placed people on this board. Back when this was a 5-person board and they all came directly from the entities, it's clear, beyond clear, that it allows the entities to decide who are we going to put in there, to decide how much the appraisal should be, to decide how much money we're going to get on the back end of this, versus let's just have an election and decide who ought to be on this board. The non-secrecy part of the board is the most amazing part of this, because what happens, as we all have seen in these elections, is the big ones are forced to vote first. So then all the little ones get stuck having to decide, where does our vote even matter, much less are we going to have a vote, and how are we going to put those votes together to try to come up with something that's good for us also. So at the end of the day, the entities that have the most protection by state law, because the process of how their budgets are done in the first place, have dramatic impact upon what your appraisals are, versus the entities that have to do everything they can to protect their budgets through a process of getting 2 or 3 votes in this. And so that issue, it needs to be understood by the public. Now that we have public people on this board, it needs to be totally understood how this works. I also think, and I'll say this in favor of chief appraisers, you also have a process in the code of tax code that allows the chief appraiser to run the process from start to finish. Does the numbers, decides how many votes you get, sends those out to the entities, pulls it all in, announces the results of the vote. There's absolutely no process from a board that determines whether or not any of that was done correctly, whether any of those numbers were done correctly. So at the end of the day, we have a job as a board. Our number 1 job is to set the budget. Number 2 job is to hire and fire a chief appraiser. And yet the process allows the chief appraiser to pick his bosses in the election. It's just an amazing, amazing process. And amazing that the state of Texas, this is the best they could come up with 35 years ago when they were determining how to do appraisal districts across the county, across the state. So I think all of those are issues that we're going to have to look at moving forward, and we'll certainly be involved in the next session in Austin, because they're the ones that came up with this ingenious process and handed it to all of us and told us to follow it. Any other questions, comments? And if not, we are going to go to executive session. At this time, then, we will break to executive session related to the Texas Open Meetings Act governing code, or government code, section, chapter 551, 551.071, 551.074. We will go into executive session. We'll be out with a report whenever we get through. Thank you. All right, welcome back, or thank you for hanging in there with us. We obviously spent a while, discussing the whole thing, part of it with Mr. Bobbitt and a lot of it without Mr. Bobbitt. I want to clarify a couple of things that were shared in comments earlier. One is that there's no reason to think, at least what we have right now, but there's going to be a motion related to this, that any of the candidates from last round had anything to do with the process. Including the fact that there was comment made that the tax office is the one that submits the numbers for the election process, and it's not. We do not have anything to do with it. It's important to understand that this is a state agency, the Tarrant Appraisal District, and the county tax office is a county agency. We are forced to work together because we're actually forced to work together. We are actually forced to work together. We're forced to work together because of the process of how the appraisal district affects the tax process for the entities. But we do not work together in processing numbers. There is a formula for which the Tarrant Appraisal District utilizes to come up with the number of votes per entity. And frankly, there was a big mistake made in the last election. And we are trying to figure out where and how and who was a part of that mistake. So we do have some motions to come forth from members of the board related to the decisions that were just made, and I'll open the floor for those motions.
First, okay, one of the reasons I ran for this position is really to restore public trust. And I just can't sit by and endorse some of the actions that have happened and not take any kind of action at all. And I really don't want to do this, but my gut tells me I need to, there needs to be some accountability here. I think a step in the right direction would be to have a third-party investigation on, how this error occurred. But that will be a separate motion. But my motion is to terminate Mr. Bobbitt effective immediately.
It's been moved that we terminate the chief appraiser immediately. Is there a second? Hearing none, that motion dies. Is there any more motion? Any other motions?
I have a motion.
Okay.
I move to authorize the board's attorney to find an independent third party to investigate any irregularities surrounding the appointment process to this board for the 2004 and the 2005 terms.
Is there a second?
There is a second.
Is there any discussion? Yes, ma'am.
Could we say 2024 and 2025 instead of 2004?
Sure, thank you. That's a
Good
very good correction.
With that clarification, I second the clarified motion.
The motion as corrected is seconded. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, I'm going to do it verbally, Julie. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Is there any further discussion or any further action?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
Obviously, there's lots of discussion and clarity that needs to be done for investigation for the public. I recommend that we table this issue until our next board meeting on November the 12th at 9 a.m.
It's been moved that we table the motion till November the 12th, which is next week at our regularly scheduled meeting. Is there a second?
I will second
It's been
it.
moved and seconded that we table the further discussion related to the whole entire process till next week. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Is there any further items for the board? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. It's been moved that we adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.